Turning now to the presidential transition. The next addition, or additions, to Donald Trump's cabinet team likely won't be announced until after this weekend. On Friday, the president-elect did name two figures to his White House staff. Kathleen McFarland is being tapped as Deputy National Security Advisor. She currently works as an analyst for Fox News and has worked in the administrations of Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and Ronald Reagan. And Trump campaign attorney Donald McGahn is set to serve as White House counsel. Neither post requires confirmation by the Senate.
But there appears to be a split within the transition team over who will be nominated to lead the State Department. The leading candidates for Secretary of State are said to be former Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney and former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Romney was one of President-elect Trump's most vocal critics during the campaign, while Giuliani was one of his most loyal supporters. Other possible nominees are former CIA Director David Petraeus, Republican Senator Bob Corker, and Marine Corps General John Kelly.
For more on the Trump transition, we are joined by Mark Alexander, Dean of the Villanova School of Law. He was part of the senior leadership for the Obama-Biden transition effort. Good morning, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Let's first talk about Secretary of State. You have Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York, openly lobbying for himself to be the Secretary of State nominee. Public back and forth between members of the transition team. How unusual is that back and forth?
It's highly unusual. There's always a behind-the-scenes jockeying. Everyone wants these positions. Yeah. But what is interesting to see this out front and in public. And it's something that the presidency is not the same as a campaign. So I think what is really important is the president-elect has to realize that he can't run this as he ran his campaign, because these kinds of public spats are a very different kind of issue.
What's interesting also is, I mean, you've got Kellyanne Conway, who was his campaign manager, now taking this battle onto Twitter, essentially trying to knock down Romney and saying that she's seen so much criticism of him. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, I think that's a concern for the president-elect. If he's going to be president, he has to realize that he's the one out front, and then having his team fighting and infighting in public, that's a significant problem for any president, to have that kind of a public discord about the decisions being made behind the scenes.
Mark, when we talk about the positions that are yet to be filled, we know he's made some cabinet picks, but there are 4,000 appointments still on the list, political appointments. Where are we in terms of that process?
Well, when people start getting appointed for or named for the top spots, and they can start to fill in the next ones that follow. And so then those folks can start to build up. But behind the scenes, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of folks who are starting to go through resumes, starting to build folks up, and tentatively slotting them in for certain positions. But the top ones, the ones that are political, those are the ones that have to come in place before the final decisions are made for those spots.
Well, because we not only have a transfer of power, we have a change in party, which is going to make significant changes. Yes,
big difference, and that's of course a very significant difference. We're seeing resignations already being announced. And that means that when January 20th comes, there's a new administration and new people have to take charge. And with a lot of folks who are going to be leaving from the previous administration, change of party, then I think there's going to be a lot more that the new president's going to have to step in to be ready to do on day one.
All right. Mark Alexander, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for your time.